A constructive post-capitalist movement should be anchored in a neuropsychoanalytical mimetic Marxism. Now, for some people, that sort of phrasing will make them wet, but for others, it will make them sick. So we're going to have to cover a couple of those things because it's not as bad as it sounds. Firstly, neuropsychoanalysis is a contemporary modernization of psychoanalysis, utilizing what we have learnt through neuroscience. Because even though he was weird, Freud actually did a really impressively good job, especially considering how long ago it was and the fact they didn't have neuroscience at that time, of figuring out how the psyche works. Not necessarily how the brain works, not the physical matter, but the non-physical mental space. Neuropsychoanalysis takes that model and anchors it in our hard-won understanding of human physiology. What this gives us is a fully embodied, inactivist understanding of human beings as entities embedded in a context with both physiological and psychological experiences. It gives us that hard physical body and the wobbly mental space in one neat package. Now, one of the things that is so important about this is the centrality of human subjective experience, because the capitalist neoliberal world model fully and fundamentally rejected human subjectivity, which is a massive part of why it is so incredibly and perpetually dehumanizing. If you want to understand neuropsychoanalysis, look to Mark Soames. He is the one who developed the terminology and has been a forerunner in the establishment of that as a scientific field. Now, mimetic Marxism is something I made up myself. I don't know if anybody else has used the term before. Memetics refers to the study of how ideas are transmitted from human to human. And one of the most interesting things about it is that ideas are considered self-replicators, which means that they act into the world in ways that perpetuates their own existence. Now, this ties in very nicely with the free energy principle, which is foundational to neuropsychoanalysis. Now, memes are multifaceted and multi-layered, so there could be something as simple as the happy birthday song that everyone knows, or something as complex as the ideology that underpins contemporary fascism and neoliberalism. If we can combine all of this with a Gramscian-style cultural analysis, we can begin to pinpoint aspects of the cultural dynamic that we can address, that we can change, and that we can replace with something fundamentally post-capitalist that is going to do us some favors. It allows us to identify the psychobiological underpinnings of the far right and figure out a better solution. We can then intentionally and conscientiously produce our own counter memes that fully address the subconscious desires at root in far right radicalism, as well as routing out the remnants of the colonial mind within ourselves.